Hello everyone, I'm James from DINSTAR. Today I will give you some very basic training for our digital gateway. Here we can see, if you go to our website, we can see that under the digital gateway there are a lot of models, and then cover a lot of the different customers. So from the small size to medium size, even the large size for service provider or large enterprise. Here we can see that MTG 200 until MTG 3000 and MTG 3000T. Then a lot of model and support different features, but generally it can support like PI, SS7 and R2. Okay, and if you don't know the MTG, what's the MTG or what the features support, you can refer to our menu here. We got the menu, you can refer here. You can download from this link. Okay, and here we can see here. If you got the enterprise, the PBX or SIP server or PBX, any PBX, standard, open standard PBX, you always can use our TG digital gateway to connect by SIP and connect together, make a PI call digital SS7 and signaling and protocol, then make a call, incoming call, outgoing call here. Of course, you also can use our MTG and to connect to SIP network or IMS network for a particular purpose. Under the PBS, inside the PBS, maybe the LAN, you got a lot of extension for different purpose or different department. And another scenario is if you use our digital gateway, maybe you want to connect different networks, for example, SIP to E1 or T1, maybe connect E1 to T1, connect to legacy system, and so on. So it's quite easy to do that and very clear. Here in my tutorial, I will continually use the one model for demonstration purpose. Okay, if you have all the different models and different versions, the interface may be different. So please make sure you always refer to your user menu. We just gave you the very basic training for this session. Okay. And if you got any questions or any queries, please contact our sales team or technical guy. This is the GUI. We can log in system here already. And in this session, I will give you the overlook for our GUI. So what's the GUI, what the display, and what's the purpose, and so on. And in later sessions, I will cover a lot of the specific topic here. Now, first of all, if you log in the system, you can see that there are a lot of the data or parameters here. Now, first of all, you can see the system information, general information about the firmware or hardware network, and GE port, and so on. So I use nowadays I use the port 1 or GE port 1 to connect to my system. So we can see that I still use this, and I don't use the G0. G0 is another port, so I don't use that. So we can see the device ID, DN server, system time, license, and so on. And here also got the versions, hardware version, the device version, and so. Here we got the DTUs. Actually, it's a digital cards here. We can, because we use the card insert in our device appliance, so a lot of the card information here, and the E1 T1 status. So far, we don't plug in or configure any E1 T1 port, so there is empty or non-working active. Okay, and PS10's trunk status, we can see that under this status, we can see a lot of the PI, SS7 or R2. If you got the different link, you can see the different status here. And it's IP. If you connect to the IP or connect to remote site by IP, you always can see the information here. And SIP registration, even sometimes you may register your digital gateway. You can see the registration information here. And we got the call information. If you make a call, you can see a lot of the data here. Of course, we here under this we can see the PI, SSMN, R2, SAVE, and even radius. If you got the radius connection, you also got radius, or maybe the call record, and so on. And this is the only status or report purpose. So network under the GUI, there's some network parameter configuration files here. And the first one is your IP configuration. You can see here we got the two interface network interface already. Is GE0 and GE1 here already, and you can configure different model, different network. And this is default gateway on DNS, and you also can configure the IP routing table, but if you're not familiar with this, don't touch that. Okay, if you are expert or advanced users, you may consider that. And here we got the ACL list. Is you want to allow the certain IP access your PBX, your gateway, you can add that. And ACL configuration files. Here we got the certain control permissions. If you got the ACL control, you want to configure that for different purpose. VLAN. If you want to enable the VLAN for different interface, you can enable that. Okay. Another one is for API. Things like our digital gateway can support SS7, R2, and PI. So I think not most of the time the user for enterprise use the PI. So you have to configure the PI. There's PI parameters here, and calling protocol for different purpose. If you choose that, you may control the incoming call, outgoing call for different purpose. And the PI trunk, you have to end the PI trunk for binding to the E1, T1. And same thing, under SS7, you also got a lot of the parameters, trunks, CIC, you want to set CIC, and link set, and so on, and maintaining models, management, and so on. And R2 is not very used often, and but occasionally some people still use that in certain country. But in the world, most of people use PI already, and so far I don't see many people use that. But we still support that. Okay, and you can see the different R2 parameters. R2 is quite troublesome, so there are a lot of models you have to choose there. And R2 chip trunk and R2 settings. Let's say we can see the PSTN. PSTN is something in general we can see control the clock source. Maybe you maybe got the clock source remote side or local clock source. You can choose that, and E1 or T1 depend your configuration or depend your protocol support. For example, in UK, in Europe, and maybe in US or Singapore or maybe Hong Kong, so different models maybe support, like Hong Kong support T1, China support E1, and so on. So please make sure you check that first, okay? And there are port number, of course. If you order the digital gateway, you got the numbers, more numbers, 1 or 2 or 4, maybe 8 numbers, and so on. So codecs, if you consider for different codecs, you can adjust here, and also the DAO plan. And if you want to make a call control in DAO plan, you have to check this DAO time and so on, SRTP, PSTN cost map. And if you want to customize your PSTN cost code and SIP error code, maybe you can maybe adjust here or customize here. And And we also can configure the PSTN profile. PSTN profile is control like TX, RX, and DTM, and so on. So PSTN group management, and so on. So this is all stuff related to the E1 or T1. Here we talk about the SIP configuration. SIP, under the SIP configuration files or menus, there are some menu SIP parameters. You can set the different port. You want to support some extensions or maybe the timer and so on. So you can configure here on the SIP trunk. You want to connect SIP trunk in different port. This can be done here. And SIP account, you want to register SIP or do SIP registration, SIP DNS. If you want to support DNS, SIP DNS, then you can do that. SIP rate and the redundancy, you can do the redundancy also. IP configuration. IP configuration is referred to some RTP, SDP, and so on. So we can configure this for different model, different trunk, or different profile. Number filters, sometimes, maybe in some situation like service provider, you want to block or end some priority or dedications, allow the certain numbers make incoming call, allow certain number, under certain number make going call. You can do that and add it into the number filters, but make sure you test it first, okay? And call routing means like here is something like control the call direction. You want to PSTN, you want to make a certain adjustment. For example, there are a lot of the routing purpose, and you want to adjust the PSTN to IP. PSTN to PSTN is quite possible, like port 1 to port 2, and make a call routing. And IP to PSTN, IP to PSTN sometimes like if you call from the SIP side or PBX side, you want to make outgoing call, then you have to configure this. Number manipulation, here we got the certain files you want to, in some situation you want to control or make the number changed for certain purpose. Then for example, like if you want to manipulate or change the number from the PSTN to IP, then you can do that. Or maybe for callee or caller, you can always can configure it, but it is quite flexible but quite confused. So if you do that, please make sure you understand the procedures and how to works, okay? If you don't know, please consult our technical guys to do that. And here we got the voice and fax. Here means like voice and fax, we can see actually the control the RTP or echo cancellation GAN, RX GAN, TX GAN, and so on. And if you have to use the fax machine or use the TA3, and you can adjust some parameter to meet your requirement. Maintenance, in other words, is like something like the tools to maintain your system or gateways. And we offer a lot of tools here. We got a ping. If you want to ping the SIP IP or SIP server IPs, you can do that. Just input the IP address and ping the number. And the trace test, also same thing for network. And the signaling call, if you want to trace like the signalings, you can do that. And the network captures, sometimes you want to capture the some protocol, TCP, UDP, or maybe RTP by different port. You can select the G0 or G1 to do that, and capture the file, and you maybe after that you send to your technical guy or send our technical guy to debug the system. Of course, we also offer the debug command. There are a lot of debug command here. you can choose that, and in more detail you can refer to user menu. And MCU detection, here we got some tools for the MCU or the DTU, and health status to check the health status. Under the MCU you got the lots of items to test it, like CPU and flash, RTC, USB, and power supply, and so on, TF slot number, FPGA, and you can start the test set. Make sure your system or gateway is under the very healthy conditions. Of course, it's the same thing for DTO detection. You can detect DTO or check the status and so on. And authentication configuration, you can set certain, certain parameter or certain models for different users. And here I've got the management. Management means like how to manage your gateways. We also offer some parameter to, for example, first one is web applications. You want to support the different, maybe different port, a different number, and so on. It's also quite possible. And you also disable, enable, or want to change the telnet port, and want to limit it, your event calls. Maybe web control, you want to control some application and bind to the different port number or different application, different interface. It can be done. Yeah, okay. And system log, same thing. You want to enable or disable system logs. QoS and NFP configuration, you want to enable or disable, and so it's up to you. And server parameters, here also got the authentication configurations, enable, record, and recognition service, and so on. You can disable that and configure that. Cloud server, here we got if you support the cloud server, for example, if you use our DINSTAR network management systems, you can do that. And same thing is AM server is our server. You can enable that, allow the admin staff to technical guys support that. Mail server. Sometimes you need the email to set an email address and maybe send some email to your email box. You have to enable the email server to support it. SMTP server, this will also support that. And radius server, remote server, download, you want to download certain files, that can be done that. And data restore, you want to restore maybe different files. This can be done from the local network and upload to your systems. License management, if you got the license, you want to maybe enable or disable certain license, you buy some license, can be done that. Version information is so the system version information and so on. Firmware upload. And if you want to, maybe sometimes the customer want to upgrade your firmware or maybe certain firmware or certain files, can do that. And the user account management, in our system or digital gateway, there are three kind of the staffs or roles can control the systems. Of course, the admin staff or admin maintenance or monitor system. Certain staff can read it only. Certain staff can change some parameters, and so on. So user group menus, you can group all the users together. Of course, you can modify your password to new password for security purpose. You can enable your system automatically reset the configure files and so on if you want. Okay, and there's a device reset button, restart button. If for example, if you want to change something or totally change the system configure file or some conditions, you want to restart your system, can be done, and the system will restart already. So this is a basic training for overview of our digital gateway. I introduced all the system configure files in the GUI and introduce some parameters and so on. So in later session, I will cover more detail about the each configure files and give you more about the detail and hopefully help you to do the set up the system or set up device quickly and give you very good experience. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.